This is the 10th time my boyfriend has been kicked out of the room to sleep on the sofa this month. After being with him, my sleep quality dropped dramatically. Wi-Fi was wrong, open the door. If you make any more noise, you can get me back into the sea now. The door stopped instantly, and I was relieved. Yes, the mysterious halberd is not human. He was originally a killer whale. It is commonly known as the species of the ocean, high IQ, and full of ethnic communication and dialogue. This evil fate started a year ago. In order to reward employees, the local tyrant company where my girlfriend belonged organized a luxury cruise team building and could bring family members. She signed me up excitedly. For me, a dead house that cannot go out for a month. Compared to being tired and trekking through mountains and rivers, a cruise is a very light way to travel, which is equivalent to changing places to continue staying at home. So I agreed to go with her. There was a welcome dinner on the first day of the cruise, everyone had fun, and the girlfriends did not go back to the room after the banquet. When the show ended, she was already drunk in their president's arms, scolding dogmen and other things, but the president hugged her helplessly and dotingly. As a qualified girlfriend, of course I understood it and went back to the room by myself with a wink. A good night's sleep. As soon as it was light, I boarded the deck. Refreshed, intending to watch the sunrise over the sea. As soon as half a yellow salted egg yolk appeared on the horizon, murderous footsteps came from behind. Eugenian, you traitor who kills 1,000 knives. My girlfriend was so angry that her voice was hoarse and startled me. I turned around and saw her hair messy and her eyes slightly swollen like a sleepless night. After the calf, the play's overdone. I didn't expect her president to be so beastly. And it was a fierce battle until dawn. Wei, listen to my quibbles. No, explain. The conscience of heaven and earth. Last night, I really thought she was pretending to be drunk. All night. Do you know how I got through it? I haven't ended the Cold War with him yet. What then? I was a little at a loss for words, and with guilt, my feet unconsciously retreated. I was standing on the edge of the deck, and I reached the guardrail before I took a few steps back. I only heard a creak, and the guardrail behind me suddenly tilted outward, and I suddenly lost my center of gravity and fell down. WTF. Who would have thought that this luxury cruise ship would have potential safety hazards? Grunting, his back was smashed by the sea and his mouth and nose choked into the bitter and salty sea water at the same time, when my nasal cavity was filled with irritating pain. I sadly remembered that I was a landlubber. Struggling in the sea was particularly difficult, and I couldn't hear Wei's loud cry for help. Only one sentence flashed through my mind. Heaven wants to kill me. Then he fell wrapped in cold seawater until he completely lost consciousness. I don't know how long it took, but in a daze, I felt like a heavy object was pressing on my chest, and it was difficult to breathe. As consciousness gradually awakens, the dull pain in the body becomes more and more intense. Feeling the harsh light, I struggled to open my eyes and looked at my heavy chest. Although my vision was a little blurry, I could still see that a man's head was pressing sideways against my chest. Well, man? Rogue. My anger level was instantly full. Ignoring the pain on my body, I struggled to pull the other person's hair and push him away, and then struggled to move away from him, and the coarse sand under me made my hands hurt. Wow! The man let out a cry of pain. This time, the picture before falling into the water flashed through my mind. Am I saved? As far as the eye can see, there is a beach, and a few steps further are the undulating waves. I scanned under my eyes, and my clothes were half dry, still intact. Look at the man rubbing his head again. This guy is actually naked. The hair is messy. I pulled it. The three-dimensional, but slightly childish facial features. The lines are smooth and there is no trace of fat. My eyes stopped. Quickly take off his jacket, and throw it over to cover a place. He cast a puzzled look at me. But also honestly let his clothes fall on his body. There was no more of an eyesore. I took a deep breath to calm down and began to ask, did you save me? He was a little dazed, tilted his head and thought for a while, as if he understood what I meant, and nodded. I saw you, you fell, pushed you up. His tone was a bit strange. And it was intermittent, and he listened to the thief's effort. Aren't you from country, Zed? I was shocked. Why did you go abroad after falling into the sea? He looked at me with a confused expression, and I realized that he didn't seem normal. These pure eyes look like a mentally retarded person, and they are not as clean as adults. when we stared wide-eyed, there was an inopportune sound in my stomach. He stared down at my stomach curiously, and I couldn't help but bend my knees and hug my legs, as if this would hide my embarrassment. God knows how long I've been in a coma, it's no wonder. I haven't eaten for a long time, and I'm not hungry. Suddenly he turned over and crawled into the sea, and disappeared after a while. I looked at the posture that was uglier than a dog, and I couldn't help but have a black line on my face. Can't this person walk? I have to use crawling. After sitting quietly for a while, my messy mind gradually cleared up. Looking around, I realized that the place I was in should be a small island. I don't know how far I drifted in the sea during my coma, and there was nothing in my pocket. Pursing my slightly chapped lips, I was a little worried. Is this the rhythm of survival in the wilderness? It is certainly gratifying to be able to survive the catastrophe. But how can I go back alive? I racked my brains to recall the survival in the wilderness shows I used to watch. Fresh water. To survive, you must first find fresh water. I noticed a few tall coconut trees in the distance, and I was delighted. If there was no fresh water, coconut water was a great source of water. When I was still thinking about how to find survival resources, I suddenly heard a sharp chirping sound, a bit like the screams of a bear child. Following the sound, I saw the waves churning in the distance, the dark fishtail slapping on the sea, and a flat manta ray flying into the air. Drawing a parabola, when it was about to fall back into the sea, a huge black and white head came out, aimed at the manta ray and took a bite, and then disappeared into the sea. Damn. This is a killer whale. I had only seen this scene in documentaries, but I didn't expect to see it live in my lifetime. In addition to being shocked, I couldn't help but be a little worried. Would the person who had just gone into the sea be in danger? After all, he could very well be my savior. I stared nervously at the sea, afraid of missing a trace of movement. Not long after, I saw a black fin swimming this way, getting closer and closer, revealing a smooth black and shiny back in the shallow sea. Is this fish stupid? Want to go ashore and look for death? I couldn't help but hold my forehead. If it ran aground, I wouldn't have the strength to send it back to the sea. But when a wave of waves surged over, the big fish disappeared on the spot. I only heard a sound of water. And the strange man suddenly came out of the water, as if he was still holding something in his mouth. As the water level became shallower, he could no longer swim and returned to a dog-like posture. The object he was biting in his mouth was slender and diagonal, as if he was dragging it with a load, causing him to climb a little hard. I walked over curiously to see what it was. I was stunned at this look. Why is it so similar to the manta ray that was just shot away by the killer whale? It is bigger than a bathtub, and there are slightly hideous bite marks on the fish. Hungry, eat. The man opened his mouth and let go of the manta ray's tail and gave me a silly smile. The various novel plots I had stayed up late to chase before attacked me in my memory, especially the kind of polyandry that traveled through the beast world. Suddenly there was thunder in my mind, and the whole person was not good. I pointed at him tremblingly and asked, "Are you that killer whale?" He nodded vigorously, smiling even brighter, a standard 8-toothed smile, and his teeth were so white that they blinded my dog eyes. At this moment, more than 20 years of understanding biological systems shattered into slag in my mind. Oh heavens. If I was heinous in my previous life, please give me this retribution in my previous life, instead of playing with me like this in this life. Originally, I thought I was just wandering on a desert island in the sea, and as long as I could survive, I still had a little hope of returning home. But if you really cross over, then the difficulty of going home is tantamount to wanting to ascend to the sky without a rocket, without mobile phones, the internet, and everything tied to modern civilization. I am a scumbag with zero physical defense. A casual cold, or an injury or infection can kill me, destroy. I'm not doing it. It's completely rotten, losing hope of returning home. I was like a dead fish, paralyzed on the beach motionless, looking at the blue sky with a dull gaze. There was no trace of flowing clouds, as if everything was still. I don't know how long it took, but the arm was shaken vigorously, and a panicked face appeared above to block the sun. Woo, no, die, hungry, eat. Probably he thought I was dying, and he was very anxious. I was exposed to the light for too long, and my eyes were a little dry, so I couldn't help but close them slowly. Who knew that within 2 or 3 seconds, my lips were covered with something soft, and I felt water droplets dripping from my cheeks. He suddenly opened his eyes and met his red and moist eyes. The lips met, and a strange warmth was introduced into my body, and as the warm current spread through my limbs, the dull pain in my body was gradually disappearing. Is this a superpower? I was secretly shocked. He put his hands on his chest and pushed it a little harder, opened some distance, and turned over and sat up. He looked at me blankly, with undried tears on his face and wet eyes. Looks like a good rua. This reminds me of the puppies I raised at my grandfather's house, when I was a child, humming and crying to beg for milk. Long live. I was kissed, but how could I feel that I was the beast who bullied people? That I'm not dead, just rest for a while. The old face turned red, a little embarrassed. He still looked at me with eyes that were about to cry, or not. I was stared at a little hair, and I just wanted to say a few words to ease the awkward atmosphere. Before the words could be spoken, he pounced on me all of a sudden, and I was unexpectedly overwhelmed by the bear's hug. Good, so heavy. Is this a lump of lead? I want to cry without tears. Not dead, not dead. Ha 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 ha. Just listening to the sound can feel his flying joy. Before I could catch my breath, I felt dizzy again. And he actually rolled around on the beach with me in his arms. I now have a deep understanding of the perspective of a drum washing machine, and I will really thank you. Stop, stop, stop. I really can't bear it anymore, and if I turn it any further, I will have to spit it out. When his strength relaxed, I turned over and pressed hard, pressed the ground with both hands, and finally pressed the pause button, but he didn't give up trying to counterattack. Don't move. I was still dizzy, and I lectured viciously. The body instantly stopped. As my reason gradually returned, I realized that I was lying on top of him, feeling his heartbeat and chest rising and falling with his breath through his clothes. If he was a real man, I might mind, but after discovering that he was a killer whale, I was not so defensive. I have read some information about killer whales, because I was curious. And I remember that it was said that the IQ of adult killer whales is equivalent to that of 15-20-year-old humans, and there are almost no opponents in the ocean for killer whales living in groups. Killer whales in the wild have basically no record of injuries. I don't know what happens to this one under me. If I can communicate well all the time, my chances of surviving here are still quite good. At least, if you want to die, you have to be a full dead ghost. Having made up my mind, I jumped up. Can you walk? Ignoring a certain eye-catching place, I stared at his face and asked. Before he could react, I squatted down and tried to hold his arm and strap it up. He was very obedient, and after understanding what I meant, he didn't let me make a lot of effort and leaned on me to try to stand up slowly. At this time, I realized that this kid was almost a head taller than me before he was completely standing upright, which must be 1.9 meters. After he was able to stand firmly on his own, I let go of him and motioned for him to stand still. I walked not far away, picked up my coat that had fallen off before, and shook off the sand and gravel on it. He pulled his long sleeves around his waist, surrounded him, and tied a knot. Phew. Finally, no need to look at the restricted screen. He was indeed smart, and soon learned to walk on land. I plan to take him to the coconut tree, and see if I can get a few coconuts to quench my thirst. Before I could take a few steps, he grabbed me with a grieved face. Inexplicably, I followed his gaze and saw the manta ray with its belly facing the sky. Hungry, eat. He pointed to my stomach and looked at the manta rays. You are the devil. I was speechless and choked, and I forgot that there was still this stubble. Except for the fact that manta rays are protected animals and cannot be eaten, I really can't accept raw meat. I usually don't touch sashimi when I go to a Japanese restaurant. Unless you can get a fire, for me, a lump of roasted meat is better than raw meat, but apparently, I couldn't let him know that I didn't like the prey he gave me. I stretched out my hand and touched his head comfortingly. I like this gift very much. I'll deal with it later. He understood what I meant, so he ignored the manta ray and let me take him into the distance. When I came to the coconut tree, I knew what it meant to be a whip. The good news is that there are really coconuts, and there are many. The bad news is that the tree is too high, visible but intangible. Want? He saw me staring at the coconut greedily, and squinted at the coconut tree. I nodded. Can you climb trees? He shook his head. I was a little disappointed, and I couldn't help but lick my dry lips to quench my thirst. The coconut on the top of the tree cannot be counted on for the time being, and can only hope that the ground is ripe and naturally fallen to pick up the leeks. I carefully searched the surroundings. There is one floating on the water not far away. I was just about to pick it up, but I heard a juang behind me. the leaves rustling, followed by another muffled crash. Click! I turned my head stiffly and saw a tree with a diameter of at least 40 centimeters full of coconuts slowly tilting, and then fell down, smashing a piece of sand. I couldn't help but tremble. What a terrible power. And the initiator was looking at me with a look of praise, his face full of praise. Coconut. Lots of palpable coconuts. This sudden surprise smashed me like a pie in the sky. I couldn't hold back, ran over and jumped up, hooked his neck, and kissed him the cheek. Ah ha ha, I love you to death. There are more than 20 coconuts in this tree, at least for a week, and I don't have to worry about the water source anymore. Then I let go of him. Happily rushed to the position of the coconut tree crown, and counted. I didn't notice that he stood there in a daze, his face flushed, and he stroked his cheek thoughtfully. After the excitement, I became depressed again. How can I open coconut without a knife? Once again feeling how weak I was, I squatted down in frustration and became autistic. At this time, a hand stretched out from my side, easily pulled out a coconut, smashed the coconut shell with 2 fists, and tore it hard, easily peeling off the thick peel fibers. I watched his series of actions stupidly, and when he smashed open the hard inner shell, and didn't even have red hands, I only thought of one word: boyfriend power max. He even carefully removed a small part of the broken hard shell and threw it away, and held the opened coconut to me. I said thank you weakly, after receiving a meal of coconut irrigation. A long drought and rain is probably this feeling. Every cell in the body is clamoring for a little more, a little more. After drinking it in one gulp, another opened coconut was handed to me. Aren't you drinking? I questioned. He only shook his head. Think about it, killer whales are top predators. How can they be vegetarian? After I took the second coconut, he planned to smash it again, but I quickly stopped it. Don't open it yet. Let's just take the coconut back. If you open too much, it will be bad if you can't finish drinking. Although there are still a few coconut trees here, I don't know how long I have to stay here, so save as much as I can. So I instructed him to get a series of coconuts off, and pull a few large leaves to bring them on. Walked back slowly together. It was quite comfortable to walk on the beach, when my stomach was not so hungry, and the warm sea breeze at noon, accompanied by the sound of the waves. I was holding a coconut in my hand and taking a sip of it. It is obviously a desert island to survive, but it has a bit of a sense of leisure on an island vacation. Of course, I know it's all because of him. My name is Ji Yuzhenjin. Do you have a name? I looked sideways at him. Yes, in your language. It should be. His own tone was a bit strange, and I didn't understand what the pronunciation meant at all. I repeated the pronunciation of his last 2 words puzzled, and an idea suddenly came to my mind. How about I call you Shenji? I took a few quick steps and stood in front of him, looking straight at him. He tilted his head, still a little ignorant, trying to imitate my pronunciation. Xian, halberd. You see, Xian represents black, and halberd is an ancient weapon, which can also refer to your dorsal fin. I explained to him the chase endlessly, and he listened quietly and looked at me with focused eyes. I was a little embarrassed by him later, and said sneeringly, "Don't you like this name? Am I too noisy?" Like, name. His expression was actually a little more serious. Before I could laugh, another sentence popped out. I like you. Like, Ji Yuzhenjin. With a bang, my blood seemed to rush to the top of my head, my cheeks began to heat up, and my ears were burning in a panic. For the first time in my life, I was told that the object was actually a fish. I was silent and didn't know how to keep the topic going. It's not that I discriminate against him as a fish, but I haven't known him for a day, and we're separated by species. If he were a human male, I definitely suspect that he was a dead scumbag who liked to chat, but if he does, he know what liking is. I like it. I really like it. He seemed to be able to sense my emotions and was a little anxious. Before I could come back to my senses, he threw down the coconut in his hand and hugged me, and the sudden movement shocked the coconut in my hand to fall off. He hugged me tightly, and I struggled to escape, not moving at all, so I simply gave up resistance, and I couldn't do a killer whale that could only break a coconut tree. In order to avoid the embarrassment of looking directly at the pectoral muscles, I could only turn my face sideways, and my ears were inevitably attached to the position where the heart was, and it sounded like a drum. My thoughts couldn't help but wander a little, thinking of the picture of him lying on my chest when I first woke up. I guess I also wanted to listen to the heartbeat to make sure I wasn't dead, right? Junjun, talk to me more. I can practice. I will adapt to your language. I can. Compared with the first time I heard him speak. Although the current words are still not fluent, the pronunciation has actually been corrected a lot. Are killer whales so good at learning? I smacked my tongue secretly. I know there are too many mysteries in the mysterious halberd, but now is not the time to delve deeper. Okay, I'll talk to you more and help you practice. When people are in a desperate situation, their emotions are easily infinitely amplified, and it is also the time when the atrium is most fragile. Anyway, he's the only one I can rely on at the moment. It is better to have a strong guardian and communicate than to wait here alone to die. The black halberd is like the driftwood I struggled to grab before I was on the verge of death. The only hope for survival. It seems that something is starting to loosen in my heart. His arms are really warm. In the afternoon, I have been practicing conversation with Xuanji, and slowly he speaks much more fluently. Suddenly I felt a strange buzzing sound. And it was slowly getting louder, like a large fly, and then more and more like a lawn mower. It's a bit familiar, I try to recall. Yes. It's that. I stood up abruptly, my eyes searched the sky, and quickly found my target. Indeed, facing the sunset, I saw a helicopter flying this way. Ah? Here. I couldn't contain my excitement anymore and waved my hand in the direction of the helicopter. Although I knew that the people above couldn't hear me at all, I still jumped and screamed excitedly. From falling into the sea to now, my mood has been up and down like a roller coaster, probably catharsis. The people in the helicopter spotted us and slowly landed on the beach. I was just about to run over, but was grabbed by the black halberd. Don't go, don't leave me. He looked at me pleadingly. He looked nervous and aggrieved, like a pet about to be abandoned by his owner. My heart was sore, and I touched his face and comforted. I won't leave you. Come with me, I want to confirm something. He stared at me for a moment, and after making sure I wouldn't leave him behind, he took my hand tightly and walked towards the helicopter. This time, a man in camouflage also came down from above, tall and strong. Are you Miss Ji Yuzhenjin? He was still holding a photo in his hand, looking at me and comparing it with the photo. Yes. I nodded. I am a member of the rescue team, and Mr. Mo entrusted our rescue team to search for your traces on the islands in this area. Mr. Mo is the boss of my best friend Yi Weiwei, and he is also her current dogman in the Cold War. My heart that has been hanging is finally at ease. It's still the world I'm familiar with, moved. I want to cry. May I ask what day it is today? I have to be sure how long it has been since the day I fell into the sea. After the rescue team told me the date, I was relieved that it was only 3 days. And I hope my parents don't know about it, and can you hide it? Then can we go back now? I continued to ask. The result is a negative answer. Unfortunately, I was sent to search for the driver's cabin in the helicopter. But after I send your location back, the yacht should arrive here by tomorrow morning and pick you up. Although I was a little disappointed when I heard this, I was still very fortunate. The man returned to the plane, and I thought he was leaving, but I didn't expect him to turn back with a bunch of things. This is a temporary emergency sleeping bag, and some food and water. You can hold on for one more night. He looked at the hands held by me and Xianji again, his eyes wandering between the two of us, and his expression was a little subtle. You have a boyfriend with you, so there shouldn't be any danger. I suddenly blushed a little, let go of my hand uncomfortably, and motioned for the mysterious halberd to take the thing. Is there a lighter in there? What I think about is that fire can cook meat. After all, manta rays cannot die in vain. The search and rescue officer was stunned for a moment. No. The little flame in my heart went out instantly, and my face collapsed. But I can give mine to you. After saying that, he took out a 2-yuan lighter from his pocket, and handed it over. I quickly took it and shook his hand gratefully. Comrade, you are such a good person. I can grill fish at night, I thought happily. After watching the search and rescue workers leave, I was excited. It was great that I didn't cross over. I can go home and continue to stay at home and enjoy the happy life of modern civilization. Just wanted to see what was in the bag. But he saw that the black halberd carrying something seemed a little unhappy. His lips were pursed tightly, and he lowered his head and said nothing. "What's wrong?" I asked in confusion. He glared at me. "You actually touched him." Me? I looked at him faintly, and not to be outdone, he glared back at me, like a puffer fish. The more he looked at it, the cuter it became. Poof, I couldn't hold back my skills. "You won't be jealous, will you?" Emma couldn't do it, laughing so hard that her stomach hurt. He looked at me with a breathless smile and asked for advice with a puzzled expression. "What is vinegar? Can you eat it?" Ha 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 ha, I can't do it anymore. This is a living treasure. After finally returning to normal, I explained to him what vinegar and jealousy mean. He suddenly realized, and I looked at him teasingly, thinking he would be embarrassed. As a result, he said to me seriously, "Yes, I'm just jealous. I can't see other males touching you." I can't laugh anymore. Is this killer whale so possessive? It is obviously a social creature, belonging to the matriarchal group. How can the male killer whale have such a sense of exclusivity? It was getting late, and after many failures, I finally started a fire with the dried dead wood leaves I picked up. The black halberd was a little uncomfortable with the heat of the flames, and sat looking at me from a distance. I flipped over a few branches diagonally inserted into the sand with the divided manta ray chunks on top. With the high temperature roasting, the fragrance has begun to spread. I opened another package handed over by the search and rescue personnel, which contained compressed biscuits, ham sausages, and 2 bottles of water. I waved to the mysterious halberd, and he immediately came over obediently. I tore open the package of the ham sausage and handed it to him, and he took it and looked at it curiously. "It's edible, our human food. Try it." Xianji took a tentative bite. His expression was a little subtle, which was different from the taste of what he had eaten before. After eating the taste, his eyes lit up and he took another big bite. His eyes narrowed with happiness. I guessed that the fish was also grilled, and I pulled out 2 branches with fish pieces inserted in them and gave them to the mysterious halberd. He sent it to his mouth without thinking about it, so fast that I didn't have time to stop it. Sure enough, the fish pieces that had just left the fire were so hot that he grinned. I hurriedly stepped forward to check, a little red, and directly picked up the bottle of water, and asked him to raise his head and open his mouth, and poured it down to cool him down quickly. Probably choked a little. He shook his head and sneezed several times. That's how he didn't let go of the fish in his hand, and I was angry and funny. "No one robs you." I followed his back and sat down again, after making sure everything was fine. I took a piece of fish and blew on it, and ate it slowly. Although there is no seasoning, the fish is tender and has a faint salty taste. The fat is grilled, and the bones are crispy and soft. Don't be too happy to be able to eat hot cooked food. Xianji also learned from me and ate while blowing, which was very satisfying. I was full after eating only 1 piece, and the rest of the fish went into his stomach. I was a little tired, so I asked Xianji to open 2 coconuts, and each person held them and drank them. When you have enough to eat and drink and have nothing to do, it's time to get to the point. I finally couldn't help but ask Xianji many doubts in my heart. Although I don't particularly understand the meaning of some of his words, according to my understanding, it can be summed up as: the black halberd is not the only killer whale that can transform into a humanoid, and his entire family can too. The family of the black halberd is a little different from other killer whale groups, and there is an ancient secret in their family inheritance. According to his description, there was a god who ruled the sea, and when the sea god was still living in this sea space, their family was one of the servants of the sea god, and the sea god gave them the ability to transform their bodies. Later, something happened, which led to the disappearance of the sea god. The temple was closed, and all the sea god attendants lost their sea god marks, and could no longer maintain their human form. Gradually, those races that were once Poseidon attendants no longer remember the glory of their ancestors, or become extinct over time. Only their killer whales and another race, because they have family inheritance from generation to generation, have not forgotten. Because of human activities, the marine ecological environment has become worse and worse in recent years, and decades ago, their family ran around the ocean in search of a clean habitat. But by mistake they found the location of the long-disappeared sea god temple, where there was the remnant divine power of the sea god, which directly gave their family the ability to transform again. I struggled to digest this huge amount of information, like an incredible fantasy. I have never seen the black halberd turn from a killer whale to a human before. If someone told me this, I would definitely think that the other party was crazy. What about your family? Aren't killer whales all group actions? Why are you here alone? I asked curiously. They feel that the sea is too polluted, and since there was a place a few years ago, they have been discharging terrible wastewater into the sea, and they have simply turned into human forms and went ashore. I don't want to leave. I can live alone anyway. When he said the second half, he seemed a little awkward and a little angry, but it was obvious that he was hiding some information. I didn't ask any more. I just lamented that human beings have persecuted the ecology too much, and even the fish have been forced ashore. The temperature plummeted at night, and I lay in my sleeping bag. But I didn't feel sleepy at all. I glanced at the black halberd that was still sitting by the fire and throwing some dead branches from time to time, and the only clothes on his body were my coat around his waist. I couldn't help but ask, "Are you cold?" He nodded and sniffed, pitiful, inexplicably. I felt a pity similar to maternal love for him. "Come here, lie down and warm up together." I patted the free position and moved a little to the side. This is a double sleeping bag. Hearing this, he immediately got in, and suddenly I felt that the sleeping bag, which was quite wide, became a little crowded. There was no unpleasant smell on the black halberd, it was a faint ocean smell. The first time I was in a waking state with a male sleeping in the same bed. I was a little awkward. I didn't dare to look at the black halberd, and my eyes were fixed on the sky, away from the city lights. The night sky here is so bright. Calculating the days, should be the beginning of the lunar calendar today, with a curved crescent moon hanging in the air, reflecting the stars, with the sound of waves. I inexplicably thought of a word. The years are quiet. Although the encounter with Xuanji was short-lived, he gave me a sense of stability, which was also an emotion I had never had before. But in the previous chat, Xianji said that he didn't want to leave the sea, even his family can't take him away. Is it possible for me? Thinking of this, I sighed, and I didn't want to face tomorrow's parting. I couldn't help but turn my back to the black halberd, and curled myself up with my arm on my pillow, sullenly said, "I'm leaving tomorrow, you have to be good, you have a chance I'll come to see you again." As soon as the words fell, I was hugged by the mysterious halberd, and he seemed to be stimulated, and his tone was urgent. "Jinjin, don't leave me. I want to be with you, as long as I can be by your side." Speaking of the back, his voice began to choke. "But you belong to the sea, and your family has not been able to let you go." There was a sour feeling in my heart, and tears welled up unconsciously. I wanted to be with him, but I couldn't let him go to a strange world at the expense of his freedom. "I do. As long as you can be with Jinjin, you can go anywhere." My heart raced, my brain went blank, and I lost my speech for a moment. Before I could answer, Xianji seemed to be afraid that I would run away, and his arms around me suddenly tightened, making me almost breathless. I patted his arm. "Let go, I'm going to be strangled to death by you." Hearing this, he hurriedly relaxed. "I'm sorry, Jinjin, I'm sorry." "Woo-woo. I don't want to leave you." Woo-woo. His head was buried in my shoulder, and I felt the cool wetness invade my skin. After catching my breath, I turned around and lay on my side facing him. His eyes were red and tears were constantly flowing. I reached out and gently wiped away his tears, and he sobbed and didn't forget to stare at me. What kind of squeamish little crying bag is this? I'm a little helpless. "You really want to go with me?" I looked at him seriously. "Well, if you want to go, you have to go with Jinjin." He nodded vigorously. "Okay, your family is on the shore, which means you can also survive on land." Hearing me let go, his face was happy. "But if one day you can't adapt to life on land and want to go back to the sea, you have to tell me. You can't stay on land for me against your will, and you can't lie to me," I said solemnly. After receiving an affirmative answer, he was immediately happy and agreed quickly. The painting style is serious in no more than 3 seconds. Xianji hugged me excitedly and kissed me on the cheek like a chicken pecking rice. I asked the heavens speechlessly. Who did he learn this from in a daze? Suddenly I felt a touch of dampness and heat on my lips, and he actually licked it. The palm covering my back began to wander, and the temperature inside the sleeping bag rose a little. I was suddenly alert. As a modern woman, have you never eaten pork and never seen a pig run? If you let him go on, it is probably not suitable for children. I don't want to fight in the field for the first time. Hurriedly stopped and pushed him away. "Don't move. Sleep," I said viciously. He was a little puzzled and wanted to come over. "If you don't obey, go out. I'll go home tomorrow, and you can go back to the sea yourself." When he heard this, He immediately stopped sticking to me, and even moved outward. For fear that I didn't want him. He also closed his eyes very obediently, motionless, as if to say, "Look, I'm asleep, you can't leave me." I was a little amused and couldn't help but hook my lips. The stars were still bright, the night breeze was soft, and after a while, I was a little tired and slowly fell into a deep sleep. I didn't have a dream all night, and I was very stable. When I woke up again, I was awakened by the heat. Squinting my head sideways and looking at the sky, the morning light was faint. I actually nestled in Xianji's arms, moved out gently, and when I looked up, I saw his quiet sleeping face. The hair was slightly messy to cover the thick eyebrows, and looking at his closed eyes, I realized that his eyelashes were so long and thick that I was a little jealous. The bridge of the nose is high, the corners of the mouth are slightly raised, and the lips are full and rosy. I couldn't help but stretch out my hand. My fingertips brushed from the base of his mountain to the tip of my nose, and the curvature of my nose was my favorite. Tapped down on his lips, soft. Suddenly he opened his eyes, and his dark eyes looked at me intently. How could he look like a person who had just woken up? Are you pretending to be asleep? I'm a little ashamed, and I'm seen going crazy with him, and my heart is stuck. As soon as I wanted to get up, he hooked me a little harder, and I rolled back into his arms, our bodies close to each other. Junjun wants to see me, want to touch me, you can. Anywhere. The nasal voice is hoarse and low, with the laziness of just waking up. Like a soft feather sweeping through the heart. It is about to die. I really suspect that he knows everything, and has figured out which set of things I eat. And deliberately votes for me otherwise. This is just a day and night. How can psychological growth be so fast? I thought he was the IQ of a teenager at most. But apparently I underestimated it. The gradually obvious foreign body sensation in the lower abdomen gave me a clear understanding that he was not a harmless teenager. How old are you? No, I don't know. I've been living alone in the sea for the past few years, and I don't have time to concept. Well, he started to pretend to be aggrieved again, and he was a good hand at deceiving and sympathizing with him. He was really a scheming whale. I thought that the person who picked us up would arrive at least in the morning, but I didn't expect that as soon as I packed my sleeping bag, I saw a cruise ship coming in the distance. The sun has just risen in the east, and today is also a good day. As soon as I got on the cruise ship, I saw Wei Wei with red eyes. She rushed over and hugged me, crying. Junjun, fortunately, you're fine. I'm sorry I patted her on the back. Haven't I come back? You see. I also brought you island specialties. She followed my hand and saw a pile of coconuts, as well as a black halberd next to it. Wei Wei's eyes suddenly lit up. She stopped crying, looked at Xianji and bit my ear. Who is this little handsome guy? The figure is really good. Me? I forgot that Wei Wei also has a hobby. She likes to draw beautiful men with vivid colors, especially those who are not wearing clothes. She often publishes works on social platforms and has hundreds of thousands of followers. Every time Wei Wei publishes a new work, the comments on the good guys are breathtaking, and they are sudden. Before I could answer, Vivi was taken away from me. I looked at Mr. Mo, who was imprisoning Wei Wei in his arms and covering her eyes, and thanked him first. Mr. Mo said that it was their company's negligence in the team-building arrangement that caused me to be in danger, and they were already negotiating with the cruise company. And the follow-up compensation would be credited to my bank account. Then Mr. Mo looked at the black halberd, his eyes meaningful, but he didn't say anything more. He just asked people to take the Shen halberd to get dressed. After Xianji followed the person, Wei Wei also took me to a room. The room had my suitcase and all the amenities. I took a comfortable hot bath, and I felt that everyone was reborn. When I went to the restaurant outside, the table was already full of exquisite breakfast, and the 3 people at the table looked at me. Mr. Mo was drinking a cup of coffee, and Wei Wei waved to me. Junjun, come on, it's all your favorite food. On the other side of the table, Xianji was wearing a well-fitting white athleisure outfit, and her hair seemed to be trimmed, refreshing and clean. When I met his gaze, I was excited again. He looked better in his clothes. I admit that I am a yang dog. I was nibbling on buttered toast when suddenly the food on the plate in front of me quickly became higher and higher. Xianji and Wei Wei are like fighting. As long as the other party gives me a piece, the other side will definitely add another one. I couldn't bear it a few times. Stop, stop, stop. I'm not a pig, so I can't eat so much. Shameful waste. Give me a break and eat well. After breakfast, Mr. Mo took the black halberd outside the cabin and didn't know what he was talking about. Since I got on the ship, I always felt that something was wrong. Vivi sat on the sofa in the cabin living room with me and asked me about my experience in the past few days. Originally, I wanted to hide the life experience of the mysterious halberd, thinking about how to round some things over. But Wei said that the mysterious halberd was not human. Seeing my eyes widened, Wei sighed. You are very curious how I know, right? I nodded and motioned for her to continue. Then I was bombarded with a terrifying amount of information, and my views were shattered. It turned out that except for me and Vivi, everyone else on this cruise ship was not human. Mr. Mo's company is one of the bases of non-humans. The 2 centuries of human activity have led to fewer and fewer habitats for animals, and more genocide or endangerment. It's not that they don't want to resist, but today's humans have weapons that can destroy the world. If you can't beat it, you can only join, and some animals with the ability to change shape simply hide in human society, living like humans, but also to survive. According to Wei, at that time she thought it was dog shit transported into their company, but later she found out that everything was planned by the dog man. Wei had never told me before, and she was worried that it would stimulate me. But after she found out that I had accepted the mysterious halberd well, she would have to know these sooner or later. So she gave me the bottom line. Indeed, I have accepted it very well, and I can still look pale after listening to this. I asked curiously. The black halberd is a killer whale. What is Mo always? But I saw Wei's face full of depression. He is a big black snake. I know that when Wei returned to her hometown in the countryside with her parents when she was a child, she was bitten by a snake, although it was not poisonous, but Wei had a psychological shadow on snakes from then on. Sure enough, it's true love. Even this can be overcome. I can't help but sigh. Suddenly I remembered a popular science I had read before, and I asked with great curiosity. I heard that there are 2 snakes. Isn't it strong? Hearing this, Wei was obviously stunned for a moment. I paused and said. It's true that you didn't sleep all night that day. Ji Yuzhenjin. You old pervert is going to die. Finally realized what I was talking about. Wei's face was red, and she picked up a pillow and chased after me. The laughter alarmed a whale and a snake outside the cabin. Soon Mr. Mo took Wei away, on the grounds that Wei hadn't slept much in the past few days, and since I had returned safely, she should also go catch up on sleep. As for whether it is literally supplementary sleep, I don't know. At this moment, only me and Xianji were left in the cabin, and when I thought of the scene after waking up, I suddenly felt a little hot. Xianji came over, took my hand, and suddenly said solemnly, Zhenzhen, be my partner. I know you humans are courting, and males have a lot to prepare. I have it too, and I give you all my things. When we go ashore, can I take you to see my mother? I looked up at the black halberd. I had never seen him look so serious. Those dark eyes were like an abyss in the sea, as if they wanted to suck my soul in. I looked away and nodded with a red face. The next second I fell into his arms, and I heard Xianji's strong heartbeat again, and a silly laugh. The 2 are of the same heart and promise each other for life. It turns out to be so beautiful. Extra later, I found out that the mysterious halberd had deceived me. It turned out that he had never been on land. He and Mr. Mo had known each other for a long time. His true face is not what I saw at first. Just because their family had a bug after turning from animals to humans. Every time you change from a killer whale to an adult form, there will be a period of embarrassment, unable to speak human language freely, and your mind will return to juvenile life. It takes about 10 hours to recover. Later, under my torture, he revealed all his careful thoughts. It turned out that he had been eyeing me for a long time, and originally wanted to get close to me through Mr. Mo and Wei, but Wei felt that she was already fucked up by a snake. And she didn't want me, my best friend, to be harmed by beasts. She warned Mr. Mo not to let his animal friends chase me, otherwise Mr. Mo would not want to touch her finger again. But she didn't expect that this cruise accident would directly lead to my official encounter with Xianji. I am usually a dead house, my family is okay, there is no pressure, and I can do my work with a computer. So it's hard to get out of the door once a month, and all the demand is takeaway. Once Vivi asked me out for dinner, and I guess that I went downstairs to their company at the time when she got off work. In this way, he was seen by Xianji, who had just finished negotiating cooperation with Mr. Mo. According to him, it was love at first sight. Oh, man. Mr. Mo once tried to communicate with Wei Wei, saying that he had a friend who wanted to meet me and wanted to ask Wei Wei to match. As a result, Wei Wei reacted violently when she knew that she was not a human friend, and even scolded Mr. Mo for a bloody dog. Mo could only express his love for the Xian halberd and was helpless. Later, Xuanji got my address from somewhere, and even pretended to be a takeaway boy and wanted to see me, and every time I only open the door crack, reach out to take the takeaway and quickly close the door. Seeing that I was so wary of strangers, he didn't dare to make too many moves when he touched his grey nose, for fear that I would think he was a pervert. Then it would be completely out of play. He didn't know the news. Until the day I got on the cruise with my girlfriend, and when we arrived at the port, we had already gone to sea. So he dived into the sea and followed him from afar. Unexpectedly, I fell down by mistake. And after he saved me, he played a little trick and swam to an island far away on my back, slowly approaching me as a savior, and then being alone for a few more days, cultivating feelings. Isn't it a matter of course, Sure enough, it's a good idea. Another dog man, extra small paragraph swindler. The black halberd is a big liar. What about letting me have a good rest? I was lying on the bed in the massage parlor and gritting my teeth, and Yi Weiwei was crying and howling next to me. The masseur is dredging the meridians in our lower back and vaguely reminding us to live in moderation. Am I special? Is this something I can control? Weiwei, let's run away from home for a while, was pressed to the acupuncture point, and there was an unspeakable soreness and pain on his back. Woohoo, okay.